Hello, everybody. I'm Chelsea Crost here with the wonderful, beautiful, fabulous Michelle Dempsey, who's the founder of Very Well Written Marketing, published author, HuffPo contributor, and mommy entrepreneur. Michelle and I met in person for the first time at WEX, Women's Empowerment Summit, which is with the fabulous Alexa Carlin. And so happy to have you here on Facebook Live this morning, Michelle.
Thank you, Chelsea. I'm happy to see you again.
Happy to see you again. That's what I love about Facebook Lives. It keeps us even that much more connected because clearly we're not connected enough as is. Well, happy Friday. It is officially Friday. Let me make sure that I'm not recording twice here. Yes. And I'm so happy to speak with you because so much of your expertise, Michelle, is what I think so many people are looking for, struggling with, and in need of, whether they kind of know it or not at the moment. And very well written, your prime services are blogging, email marketing, social media strategy and management, even book writing and editing, and of course, consulting. Give us a little bit of a background story on the making of Very Well Written Marketing and paint the picture of a little bit more of your business.
It's funny you say that I offer what people need, because when I sit down with an initial client consult or a prospective client, I say, you don't realize how much you need me, because it's not necessarily me, but it's the idea of content marketing. So my business was built backwards, upside down, and randomly. I had no intentions of building a business. I was a new mom, I was blogging, and a lot of people were connecting with my work. And the more people connected, the more I got published. Friends here and there would reach out and say, oh my God, I think I need a blog. Everybody's blogging. I don't have time to write one. Can you write it for me? And so I started blogging, having zero idea what blogging meant on the back end for SEO or analytics or Google or any of that. And little by little, clients would say, oh my God, we're getting so much Google traffic. I was never found on Google before. And so I kind of had to learn backwards the power of what I was able to give businesses before I was able to call it marketing. And so naturally that lent itself to email marketing. We needed people to know that there was a blog. We needed people to know that these companies now had a brand worth advertising. Of course, social media is the nature of the beast. Whether you love it or hate it, you have to use it. And it became like almost the icing on the cake for anyone that I was working with to get their message out. I'm very good at keeping things authentic and really getting to the root of what any business's message is or should be, right? So I would sit down with an initial client and they would say, well, we want to remain professional and just use medical terminology. And I would say, nobody's interested. People want to know about you two and why you started the business and the beauty behind that. And it was really, over the last couple of years, I've had the same clients consistently. I've seen the public take to these businesses and make them giant powerhouses in the South Florida area, not so much because of what they're selling, but because of who they are and what they have to offer as individuals. And so, my business has really transformed. That's where the consulting came into play, because people would call and say, I want to do the marketing myself, but what is it that I can share?
Right. How do I even go about doing it?
How do I go about sharing it? What is it about me that people are going to take to? And I love that part of it.
Yeah, and I think the biggest, the biggest scratch your head moment for a lot of us is, what kind of content do I need to be creating? What kind of content should I be creating? And what content is for what meets what objective, right? Because one blog post isn't necessarily going to shift the needle. It needs to be more of a cohesive and consistent strategy today.
Right.
And that's today's reality. Today's reality is that every business essentially needs to be somewhat of a production company.
100%.
Right? Because of the amount of content that we have to curate and publish today.
Like I've had people reach out and say, can you write me a blog? And I'm like, for what purpose? Well, I know I'm supposed to be blogging. I just want to have a blog on my website. I said, no, because that's useless. And I think what people, the key word you said is strategy. There has to be, you can't just be writing and hoping that like this is going to lead to something. There has to be a really well thought out strategy involving how your writing is going to look and feel, what kind of keywords we're going to be targeting, and building those strategies so that I can then give them to my team to implement. I've seen it's like this moment of magic that happens from when the outline goes to the team and the team starts creating and the client's like, wow, what a difference in the reception that I'm getting.
And which is always such a gratifying feeling of like when you finally find that copy that's converting, that copy that's, ultimately creating action, whether it's a click-through rate or it's a comment or someone's moving on the call to action within the piece of content. And it's very exciting when you can finally connect the dots, the content dots. So a few questions for you, because ultimately within every Facebook Live, my goal is to always leave all of our amazing listeners and people who are participating with some golden nuggets, with some aha moments, and with some really tangible tips and tricks and tools to go and implement now into your brand, into your business strategy, into your content strategy. And of course, for all of you popping in, me and Michelle are here for any and all questions. What's up, everyone? Hey, Dylan. Hey, Zena. Hey, Rajesh. Hi. I'm saying hi to everyone who's just tuning in. Trey, Matt, Edward. We're just starting to see some trickle in coming through. But I was rating your website, of course, Michelle, and I saw that you had this awesome article, and it was 5 ways you may be screwing up your copy and content.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that you said really resonated with me, and I'd love for you to go in depth a little bit about it. And you said, copywriting is not a marketing tool, but the real marketing tool is the content. And that content is going to really make the difference. What do you mean by that?
So people get really confused, and I'm sure you face this all the time. People don't understand the difference between copy and content. And the way I like to break it down for people who have no idea about marketing is copy are words. Content is the voice that the words provide. So, this is an envelope. This little square contains so many tidbits about what I've done in the past month on my phone. There's 2 different ways of describing it. And so I love coming into a new situation with a client. They can be the most successful. I work with a lot of dermatologists and skincare professionals and also lawyers and chiropractors. That's kind of like my niche. And so, it goes from taking really rote mechanic descriptions of things and turning them into something that people are so almost aroused by. Like, this wording sounds so great. It's clickbait. It's pure clickbait. And what I find a lot of people doing is making the mistake of screwing up their marketing plans by hearing, okay, I need 500 words of content on my website a few times a week. I'm just going to throw some crap up there and hope it sticks. That's not content. Content is the story behind what you're trying to convey. And so there's a huge disparity there, because nobody's really understanding why their voice is important. And I find a lot of people get discouraged, the market is oversaturated. Why is anybody going to listen to me? And I'm like, you're trying to attract too many people. Casting a wide net, you might get a few things here and there, but focusing on one small area and really sharing a story about your business or product that is going to engage that small little market is where the magic happens.
And that is something that I think as entrepreneurs, it's such a struggle, because you want to feel that you appeal to so many people. You want to feel that you can cast that wide net.
I made that mistake in the beginning. I really did. And I tell everybody, I love to use that as an example, because I started my business and wanted to make all the money. And the person who was helping me build my website was like, okay, so who are we targeting? And I was like, everyone. And she had just finished B school with Marie Forleo. And she was like, cardinal mistake number 1, you're not trying to attract everyone. And I didn't understand until I developed a niche. And my niche and I work so well together because I've learned everything there is to know about those areas of medicine or law. And I can really speak to that, as opposed to trying to market lawyers, doctors, bakery owners, book writers. You can't do everything.
And that's such an essential element within your content strategy. If you don't really know who you're trying to speak to, at the end of the day, that copy and that content could be such a waste of time if it's not truly niche specific and positioned to your ideal consumer group.
Right. And a lot of things that the reason why I wrote that article about the mistakes that you're screwing up your marketing plan or whatever, a lot of people will call me and say, well, I hired somebody cheaper than you, but they were mass producing content for me and every other chiropractor online. And now I'm on page 9 of Google instead of page 1. And I'm like, right, that wasn't authentic. That was not content. That was copy that was being farmed out to everyone and putting you in competition with yourself, essentially. And so that's another mistake I'd love to clear up for people. It's not just putting things on your website. It's putting things that set you apart and that is completely authentic to your business.
So while we're on the topic of things not to do within your copy/content marketing strategy, let's just go over the 5 tips within your article. And the first we already covered, that's really not understanding the difference between copy and content. And like you said, copy are the words within your content marketing strategy, but the content is the actual piece of content. Is it a long form article, short form article, listicle, expert roundup, video? What is the content, right? And then number 2, you said, is not being authentic. And I think we throw the word authentic around a lot today. It's definitely a buzzword. But what does it mean to be authentic within your content marketing strategy today?
So I use the word authenticity a lot too, because it means so much to me, but it is like white noise at this point for people. Authentic is, I deal with a lot of mommy bloggers, because I'm a mom, a single mom, and I write a lot of that content, and you get the moms who are like, oh God, motherhood is so beautiful. And I woke up this morning and kissed my child on the nose. And then you get authentic content like, this morning was fucking crazy. I left my keys in the microwave. I couldn't start my car. My kid threw up all over the place. Happy Friday. That's authenticity. But that's what's real, because sure, we all like to paint these pictures of our lives as being amazing and we're strong and we're boss moms and we're confident, but that's not what's going on behind the scenes. And so I tell my clients what's going on behind the scenes, what's driving you, what, the mistakes you've made, what you've learned, your insecurities, all of these things, like I have a client now writing about how hard it's been to be a mom of a teenager, and also running a life insurance business while her kid has a disability. People see women like me and they're like, oh my God, you're amazing. You do it all. You're a single mom. You're getting divorced. You're running a business. And I'm like, right. But I never fail to show what's really going on behind the scenes. And that's why people connect to me. And it's the same with you. Like, you talk about the ups and the downs, and that's authenticity. And I'll never forget when the key moment I realized why being authentic is so important. Just like you, I do a lot of speaking. And I was at an event once and I went to go see someone that I had been worshiping. I was like obsessed with the speaker and thought that the sun came out of like her head. And I went, and her speech was literally scripted to the point of like, she was walking to the beat of a song. And I was like, well, this doesn't feel authentic. It's like, when, like him or hate him, Donald Trump gave a speech that sounded so good because it was written for him, but that wasn't who he was. Everybody was waiting for him to say something off color because that's who he is. And so I lost so much, not respect, but the love I had for this particular speaker just died because everything was so scripted and staged, it didn't feel real. Stop telling people what you think they want to hear and tell them what makes you you, and then you'll be authentic.
And I think people overthink authenticity, right? Like, for example, I work with a variation of entry-level entrepreneurs, meaning they're really just starting to hone their voice, define their niche, understand their purpose, and execute their brand story. And so it's more common than not, and I'm guilty of it, of course, too, is overthinking.
Of course.
Overthinking what's authentically me versus just being me, right?
And you can see and I love the way certain Instagram feeds, pages or accounts look that are like really plotted out with like color schemes and da-da. It looks really nice. And I've done that. And I can tell you the second I stopped doing that, and I just kind of was like, I want to share this. I want to share that. I'm saying this. There's a typo in this. I get so much more engagement. It's amazing. People can smell what's real and what's not. And nobody's stupid anymore. Everybody's very educated and people know what they want, and fake is not what anybody wants.
And I think that's such a great point of taking a moment to say there is no such thing as perfection. There is no such thing as perfect. And I always laugh, like literally LOL out loud when someone calls me out on a typo, or that I did something wrong, or that, I used the word wrong, whatever it might be. And it's like, okay, thank you very much. But, I am person, I am human. I'm definitely not an English lit major. And I'm going to make mistakes. So as are you, as is everybody in the world. And that's that's to me part of being authentic, is being okay with the fact that we're never going to be perfect. And neither will our content marketing strategy. It's like an evolution.
And it's ever evolving, just like a human being is always changing. I think back to who I was 4 years ago, and I'm like, God, like I shudder, but like we're all evolving based on the situations we're put into. So if your business starts with a particular content marketing strategy, and I've seen it happen, we're really trying to sell one thing and promote one thing, and everybody's interested in something else, you shift, and you have to be able to go with the flow and, learn from your mistakes, because mistakes are made every day. I mean, that's been key for me. I think any entrepreneur is a true perfectionist at heart. And at a certain point, you have to know when to give that up.
Totally.
For me, that became finally hiring people, to try and scale my business, because if I was going to be providing all this content for everybody, something was going to give. And I couldn't hold on to the reins and try to be perfect anymore.
And then your third tip is to, or third mistake is to not watch your competitors closely.
Yes. I think, like you said, we're very concerned, with how we put ourselves out there, and we overthink. And I think the worst way to treat yourself and the hard work that you've done for your own business is to start comparing. I think comparison is like, it's as bad as just giving up, because you start comparing with people who are on a different plane than you are. Maybe they started earlier. Maybe they started because of different reasons. Maybe they had more connections than you when they started. Maybe they're buying Instagram followers. This is what I like. So many people are like, oh, but I have 30,000 Instagram followers, and that person only has 5,000. I'm like, that person's getting 600 likes per post and you're getting 20. So clearly, there's no need to compare, and so I just feel like it's only natural that we're comparing ourselves to other people, right? But like, a Victoria's Secret supermodel is going to look good in her bikini after a baby faster than I am, because she's just built differently, and every business is built differently. And if you start comparing, I wanted to be Marie Forleo right out of the gate. It took her 10, 15 years to get to be able to interview Oprah and Tony Robbins. I'm not going to be there overnight. Right. So comparison is like the kiss of death for any business.
I could not agree more. And anytime I have an opportunity to say what I'm about to say, I do, because of how much I truly believe that this could be something stunting our success. And that is like feeding into the notion that that you don't. Excuse me, Gigi, my dog is growling at the window. I'm on Facebook Live, Gigi.
She doesn't like comparison either. No competition for Gigi.
She's totally agreeing with us in this conversation. But, we have to remember that there's like a slight distortion of reality today. We can go onto Instagram, we can go onto Facebook, we can go onto Pinterest, and we can only see what people share. We don't see what goes on behind closed doors. We don't see what's happening within the entrepreneur's financial bank account. We don't know, we don't know what's happening other than what we see publicly, what is shared. Nobody posts an ugly selfie. Nobody posts a terrible vacation. Nobody posts that. So we have to remember that what you see is not always the whole picture. It's not always the whole story. So to really compare yourself.
I'm very guilty of that. Very good, because about a year ago when I separated and started going through a divorce, I wasn't sharing that. People didn't know for like 6 months, and then they would hear and they'd be like, but you look so great and you look so happy and your pictures are so pretty and you're doing so many fun things. Meanwhile, I'm like trying to figure out life as a single mom and like crying myself to sleep, and people didn't see that because I didn't want them to. So yeah, perception and reality are totally different, more so because of social media.
Absolutely. And I think for all of us to, kind of allow ourselves to get into a funk or allow ourselves to get slightly depressed because you think you're not doing as well or as much, is doing yourself an injustice.
It
So
really is.
I'm always about get empowered and inspired by the competition, not depressed by
Or
it.
collaborate. Collaborations are so amazing. Like there are plenty of girls that have come to me for, let's have coffee. Let's, I'll be friends with any, I'll be friends with like my phone. Like I love people. And so anytime I am invited by somebody to coffee, I'm happy to get to know someone. And over the years, I've seen a lot of these people who wanted to have coffee or take me to lunch are now people who have started similar businesses to mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Like I have a good way of carrying myself and inspiring others to make them think that what I do is so easy and they can do it too. And sure, it's a little bit like, oh, okay, you're going to copy my website now. Cool. But then I'm like, I reach out. Hey, how can I support you? How can we collaborate? Because there's room for everybody. And we talked about niches and specialties and everybody having their own unique thing.
Yes.
Everyone doing what I do is going to do it differently. And I'm no longer threatened.
And also talk about collaborations being such an asset to your content strategy.
Such an asset.
Right? I'm all about cross-pollinating in other, like-minded or interest audiences. A fellow influencer, expert business owner could attract a different type of audience that you might not have had exposure into quite yet. And that collaboration could be such a symbiotic win for everybody.
Doubling your viewership, you might only have 1,000 followers reading your post, but you collaborate and then you have double, triple, and all these shares that you wouldn't have normally gotten. And I just feel like collaboration is so great because it makes you realize things about yourself when you are forced to talk with someone or about something you normally wouldn't do. And it helps you grow tremendously.
I couldn't agree more. And a lot of people, ask me the same question of at 27, how have you been able to do what you've done thus far? And I started at 16 years old, and I actually chalk collaborations up to so much of my growth within my social media community, growth within the opportunities that have come my way and exposure. And, for you to look at, a competitor and shy away, I challenge you to look at it differently and say, okay, how can we work together to create an equal win? And I think especially because our content strategy has never been more important, it's never been more essential, and that collaboration element is a really great factor in your overall strategy. But before I let you go, Michelle, one last thing I'd love to just tackle, because I think it's such a relevant need and struggle for entrepreneurs today, is really defining our brand story. When I say brand story, what's your definition of a brand story?
Brand story is how you became who you are, how you decided, what made you get out of bed and decide to start your business. That is your brand story. And, we've been seeing it on more and more with all of the natural and organic foods and the mom and pop shops that are putting out stuff at farmers markets. And, I buy my daughter so many organic products, and they all, like Annie's is a company that I love because they have a story for each one of their products. And like Annie's was a company developed so small out of somebody's house, just for the need that they wanted their kid to have wholesome, pure food. And so a brand story is why your business or your product or whatever it is that you're selling or teaching was created. Okay. And it's not, I want to do well for the world and I want to make money. Like that's not your brand story. Your brand story was, I had a parent who died of skin cancer, and I was so passionate about making sure that nobody else I loved would ever suffer the same. So I studied dermatology and I became a dermatologist. That's a brand story.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I want to save the world. I was so moved and I was so touched by this event in my life that I wanted to make an impact. And
now, for your personal brand, right? Michelle, you are your business. Chelsea Cross, I am my business. So for people who aren't necessarily their personal brand, they more have a cosmetic line or a fashion line. Maybe it's not first person's brand story. How do you think about then crafting the brand story? Or do you think that the brand story should always be from the founder's perspective?
No, I think, I recently shifted my business. I've taken myself out. I went from michelledempsey.com to verywellwrittenmarketing.com, and I completely removed myself so that I wouldn't have to be client facing while trying to scale my business, across the world. But the business story is such, we were developed on the notion that we needed a voice. Okay. Personally, I was at a time in my life where I didn't have a voice and didn't know what I wanted to do and wasn't confident. And so I used my business as a way to become that. So now our brand story has shifted from, telling my personal story and becoming confident to helping others do that. And so, if you're selling a lipstick and there is no person on the about page, it's really just the cosmetic line. Why was that brand developed? How did that idea for that lipstick come to be? There's always a story behind everything. And so I think it's really just tapping into the why and sharing it, and your brand kind of develops itself from there.
I love that. And I think that's such a tangible item that everybody could really wrap their head around and go back and look at their brand story and say, am I coming through? Is this authentically me? Do I think this is resonating with the person that I want to ultimately sell my product or services to? And that could be the exercise for the weekend from this Facebook Live, is really evaluating and circling back to your brand story. We're fresh into the new year. 2018 has just gotten started. So now is the time for you to do a brand audit in your content marketing strategy, your social media marketing strategy, and of course, making sure that your brand story is represented.
So something that I always have my clients do, or people do when I speak at events, is to go home and take a Post-it note or an index card and write on that index card your why. I created this lipstick because I want to have an environmentally friendly way to help women look beautiful. I created this content marketing business because I'm going to help 500 companies tell their story this year. Put your why somewhere where you can see it. And I say stick a note on your bathroom mirror. That's become like my thing. And I have everybody I know do it. Look at your why every morning and let that dictate everything else and how you do it in your business.
That's such a beautiful place to end. Michelle, how do people keep in touch with you, learn more about you, connect with you?
My website for my business is verywellwrittenmarketing.com. You can find me on Instagram at the Michelle Dempsey. You can Google my name, Michelle Dempsey, and find all of my work, and email me at michelle@michelledempsey.com.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this lovely morning, Friday morning, Michelle, and hopefully we'll see each other sooner than later. And have a fantastic weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Adios. Adios, everyone. Bye-bye.